Greetings, vinyl community in VC. I'm TC Kirkham, TKR Video Central, TKR Studios, TKR Chart Zone, and the Kirkham Report. Getting to be a mouthful, and welcome to the first official installment of TC's Vinyl Archive, the complete albums collection, where I'm just going to be showing off my albums in the order that I mentioned in the prologue show. This is the first show, so it's going to be male artists from A through mid D, the first cube I have. Just want to let you know that this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and as I've said before and given credit for before, Richard McCook originally started this among my friends. Several other people have been doing it lately, and I wanted to get mine out there because I have so much weird stuff, and as you'll see, just starting with the male artists and my commentary on them. So I hope that you'll enjoy it, and let's get started, shall we? First up is Bryan Adams, Reckless, from 1984. Bought this. I was working at Buzzard's Nest Records at the time. Black vinyl, of course. Great picture. Great inner sleeve. This has tons of hits on it. Run to You is here. Heaven is here. Somebody is here. Summer of '69 is here. Kids Wanna Rock is here. The whole album is great. I am not the biggest Bryan Adams fan, but if anybody should have one, it's probably this one, because he's best known for this, and it's got all of his biggest hits on it. I haven't played it for a while, but it's a good album. Next up is the 2022 or 23 issue, Are We There Yet, from Rick Astley. This included his comeback hits on the internet, Never Gonna Stop and Forever and More. It's a typical Rick Astley, some pop, some ballads, some really good stuff. I picked this up from, I think I got it from, no, I picked it up from Plaid Room. I thought I was going to say I picked it up from My Music, but I didn't. I picked it up from Plaid Room. It has, once again, lyric and picture, and was on clear vinyl. Sound is good. Love it, and I have been a big Rick Astley fan since he first hit the scene in 1986 or 87. He did some good stuff in the mid-2000s too, and then took some more time off. But this album, definitely worth it. Are We There Yet? Next up, I picked this up from Adam at Record Crate a few years ago. Phil Austin in Roller Maidens from Outer Space. Yeah, I listened to it once. I thought it would be a cute little novelty to have in my collection. It is a cute little novelty. I got to admit, it's not terrible, but it's not really good either. Picked up these albums from an incredible performer who specialized mostly in doing Barbra Streisand and Judy Garland, Jim Bailey. This is an album that features some of the best stuff he did, mostly as Garland and Streisand. A friend of ours, my friend Jen, who we lost a couple of years back at the young age of 50, unfortunately, was a huge fan of Bailey's, and he is a marvelous vocalist. If you're into standards, this is good for you. I also have his, the next one, which is his Carnegie Hall album. And that is Jim Bailey, Live in Concert, Carnegie Hall. Also, this one I've only listened to, I don't know if I listened to both discs yet or not. I listened to the first one. It's Streisand, Garland, and an album of his own stuff. What I've listened to of it, I don't remember if I listened to sides 3 or 4 or not. It's really good. He's terrific. Now we come to the first of the really god-awful What Are You Thinking, TC albums. I collect actors who sing. You guys know that. This is Scott Baio, The Boys Are Out Tonight. This is from 1982 or 83 and is much better than the first album. He actually took some singing lessons between. This came out right before Joni Loves Chachi premiered. And it actually, Some Girls and The Boys Are Out Tonight are good songs. He did a lot of good stuff on here. He does Don't Talk, which was a hit for Larry Lee, the former lead vocalist of Atlanta Rhythm Section, that same year. It has some good stuff, and it is better than this. This is Scott's debut album from 1982, um, or somewhere about there. I don't remember if it was late 81 or early 82. What was in this Kiss is dreadful, and it hit the top three in Hawaii on a station in Honolulu that does a lot of these. Scott gave it a good shot, and he's obviously game to do it. But I'll be honest, I don't think I've listened to this thing 20 times since I've had it 40 years ago, because it's just painful. It's an actor. I think I got this through Black Box, Rayland Baxter, Feathers and Fish Hooks. Um, it's not really my cup of tea, but it's well recorded and well performed. I don't. I think I've listened to it twice. It's not a terrible album by any stretch of the imagination. It's not bad at all, really, but it's just not my kind of music for the most part. He's got an interesting voice also. This came out in the mid 2000s, I think. Let me check the lyric sleeve that came with it, or the pictures with it. It did come with a download code. Interesting stuff. This is a classic album. Jeff Beck, Blown Away. I don't remember where I got this. Beck is always fantastic. This is a great album. Um, I can't find the dates on any of these. This was from the 80s, I believe. And it was a pretty big hit. I remember selling this when I worked for Buzzard's Nest. And or it could have been when I worked later for Record Town and Coconuts, I don't remember. But we did have it on vinyl, and it was a pretty big seller. And Beck, of course, is a guitar god. Terrific performer. I gotta fix this here. I haven't listened to this yet. It's still sealed. I didn't even realize that. I must have slipped it into the albums, and I should have, because I love this guy. This is one of those I got from Merch Bar. One of the companies. I didn't like it. There, I've opened it now. This is Alec Benjamin and Uncommentary. I've listened to it online, but I didn't have the album open yet. Um, I love Benjamin's voice. His high tenor is just really terrific, and he's got a lot of great stuff on it. This one is a 45 RPM. They mark it on the sticker. Usually, you have to find out by trial and error, which I really hate. But I've listened to this online, but I've not cracked this open, so I'm gonna have to put the vinyl on and see how it sounds. Had this for a long time. This is Red Cab to Manhattan from Stephen Bishop. I got it in the cutout bin in the early 80s, after it was a big hit. Send a Little Love My Way comes from this album. He wasn't an enormous big hit on the radio. He did well on AC, but not on pop radio. And none of the big pop hits are off this. But this is probably, I think this is probably his best known album, even though it doesn't have his biggest hits on it. Um, he has a pleasant voice. He was always a good singer. I've played a couple of his songs on Obscuria, and interesting songwriter. He has some very interesting lyrics in some of his stuff. This is a good album. I would definitely recommend it if you haven't heard it. Leans toward the pop jazzy side too, most of his stuff. Next up, Charlie Bliss, Young Enough. I did get this from Black Box, and this came out in 2019. Interesting album. I've only listened to it once, maybe twice. I was listening to it to give. I'm going to listen to it again because I want to do some reviews on these. As you know, I said in January I'm going to start reviewing some of these. But I actually did like this, and it's. I'm trying to remember everything about it because it's a very interesting sounding album. Again, he writes interesting lyrics, and I love that. I love I wouldn't go so far as calling him Harry Chapin or Barry Manilow, who write these, and Rupert Holmes, who write these great story songs. But I like it, and I think it. I'm glad Black Box sent it to me for sure. Um, yes, laugh if you want. This is Michael Bolton's debut solo album from 1982. This has Fool's Game, which is one of my favorite songs by him of all time. It is a rocker. This album, this one and Everybody's Crazy, which I don't have anymore. I had on CD and I lost it. Um, they're rock. These are full on rock. This is before he turned into, um, as the Columbus Dispatch in Ohio once called him, the world's highest paid karaoke singer. I think that's very unfair. I love Bolton. I always have. I don't have a lot of his albums, but I have a ton of his singles. And this one, Fool's Game, Fighting for My Life. Some of these should probably get slipped into Friday Night Hair Salon because this is hair music at its best. Michael Bolton. And I also have Michael's most recent album from 2022, I believe, Spark of Light. This was his first major album in several years. It includes his American Song Contest entry, Beautiful World, which is a when they recorded it for the album, he did it as a duet with Justin Jesso, who was another contestant. He's done a lot of other great stuff with Kygo and a few other people as well as on his own. But he was a contestant for a different state. Bolton was representing Connecticut, and they turned it into a duet, and it is fantastic. This whole album is excellent. So poo-poo all you Michael Bolton haters out there. Let me pull the next group up so I can get to them. Gary U.S. Bonds, this is his 1981 comeback album. It's good pop R&B sounding stuff, some up-tempo stuff, some at least one good, really good ballad. And I'm thinking this is the one with this little girl, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. Yeah, Out of Work is not on this one. It's on a later one. This is a great album, and he deserved better in his comeback. I mean, This Little Girl was a pretty big hit, but the other songs never clicked, and it's too bad. It's on EMI. Really good stuff. I'm gonna make sure I'm putting these in the right order. I am. Okay, good. David Bowie, Let's Dance. Vinyl community, don't hate me. This is the only David Bowie album I have. I'm not a huge David Bowie fan. I like individual songs, and I have singles or I have downloads of those songs. But I loved this album. I got it from RCA Music Service. There's the RCA tag right there at the bottom. And of course, this has Let's Dance, China Girl, all of his mid-82, 83 hits. Great album from an incredible artist. It's just never been my cup of tea for all of his stuff, but I do love some of his classic stuff as well as some of his more recent stuff. David Bowie, Let's Dance. Jackson Browne, also not one of my favorite artists, but I've not been disappointed with the albums I had. This one is a double record set, Downhill from Everywhere. Came out in 2011, I believe. Oh, this says 23. Okay. Oh, yeah, you can tell he's much older in the gatefold there. Brown's another one who tells these interesting story songs. And this was a good album. I've only listened to it the one time right after I got it. But it has some good stuff on it. And I need to revisit it again because it's got some good stuff. One album by him that I have, I won this from KJRB in Spokane, Washington. Hold Out from 1980. There's the radio station cutout. This has his hits, Boulevard and That Girl Could Sing on it. That Girl Could Sing was a #1 hit on the Kirkham Report chart. I love this album. I think this is the best album of his career as far as I'm concerned. I like a lot of his stuff on the singles. Again, I have singles of a lot of it, but I didn't really have an album until I won this. And I also got this a few years ago from my pal Steve at Value Vinyl. He sent me an extra copy of Running on Empty. Great live album from him. Live tracks and such. And produced big hits like Stay and Running on Empty. And I think there's one other hit off here. Well, Load Out Stay, technically, because it's a double song. great stuff. Not a big live fan, but this is a good album and features some really good stuff on it. Summer of 78. I think this is the one that was from 2014. Again, Standing in the Breach. I listened to this once when I got it from Black Box. It is not my favorite album by him. There's a lot of music on here, but I wouldn't, give it away. It's definitely listenable. I just like some songs better than others. Okay, here you're going to see markings and writing, because when I was a kid, I did this, and I mean, this album is in shit shape, too. Although, it could be a lot worse, considering I got it when I was like 6. It was given to me by my aunt. Anybody remember Browning Bryant? This is Patches from 1968. I said it was 89 cents at the time. It wasn't. He was, at the time he did this, I think he was 13. He made the rounds of all the talk shows and variety shows as a kid when he was first getting off the ground. He passed away a couple years ago, very young, at 60 or 61. Really fantastic stuff, and a voice that's unbelievable. I love his cover of Tower of Strength, and of course, Patches is the deep, dark, teenage Romeo and Juliet story. His voice, it's really something. He has a lot, and I listened to this a lot when I was a kid. I haven't played it since probably early 90s, but I still love it. And you can see it's been repaired. Lindsey Buckingham, Go Insane. We played this all the time when I worked at Buzzard's Nest. It was a huge hit. Picked up a copy in the cutout bin a few years later. Features Go Insane. I want to say there was one other hit on here, but I'm not really seeing which one it was. We loved this album, and it is all fantastic. Strangely enough, I'm not the biggest Fleetwood Mac fan in the world. I love Rumors, but a lot of their albums have left me flat. Rumors is not one of them, and I'll show you that when we get there. I've always liked Lindsey's solo stuff better. And his duet album with Christine McVie from 2012, I think, fantastic. And it's on CD. But this is a great album, too. This guy never got the credit he deserved. He was a known legend in the jazz vocals section. But I always felt he deserved more hits than he ever had. This is Bobby Caldwell. This is the original album. They later added the title track, the hit track to the title. So if you have a more new copy of it, the title of the album is What You Won't Do for Love. This thing it's chock full of great stuff. My Flame, Can't Say Goodbye, which were the follow-up singles to What You Won't Do for Love, were both #1 Kirkham Report hits. Love this album. Love it to death. He was just incredible, and again, we lost him a couple years ago. In fact, the year I talked about this in 1978 or 79 on my Vinyl Recall show, he had passed away just the day before. Incredible album. The second album, Cat in the Hat, this is also good. Coming Down from Love barely hit the top 40. It peaked at number 40 in 1980. But again, the album is full of great music, some of it jazzy, some dance music. He's leaned more toward jazz as he got later and later. But this has got some ballads, some dance music, a little bit of everything, and it's fantastic. All right, let me pull up the next pile since I'm about to start an artist I have quite a bit by. Pull up another section here. Let's talk Eric Carmen. I've done a show on him on influencers. He passed away in 2023, I believe it was, or early 2024, or early 2025. He was in his 70s. This dude is an amazing artist, and this album, Boats Against the Current, is in my top 10 albums of all time. Screw the critics. This album features She Did It. It also has Boats Against the Current, which is just a marvelous song all the way around. Um, there was one other hit. Nowhere to Hide was a pretty big radio hit. I never understood why Eric Carmen does not get the respect he deserves. Not just as the leader of the Raspberries from 1970 through to 1976, but as a solo artist. His albums are phenomenally good, and people just poo-poo him, and that sucks. Boats Against the Current, my favorite album from him. We also have Change of Heart, which was the follow-up album from 1978. This features Change of Heart and Baby I Need Your Lovin'. It also features the original of Houdini, which Sean Cassidy had a big hit with. Love the cover photo on the back. I picked all these up in cutout bins because I was able to do that. They were never sold well except the first one, and that's this one, Eric Carmen. This is a original that I picked up from Record Crate a few years ago, and one of the few albums I have two copies of. This one is a foil embossed cover, but they're the same album. Great sound all the way around. Features Never Gonna Fall in Love Again, That's Rock and Roll and All by Myself, and his great version of On Broadway, which came out about 2 years before George Benson basically ripped it off. Eric Carmen can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. This is his 1985 Geffen debut with I Want to Hear It From My Lips and I'm Through with Love. Neither one were big hits. He wouldn't have a major comeback until 1987 or 88 with Hungry Eyes from the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. Dude deserved way better than he got. I did finally pick up Tonight You're Mine, which was his 1980 and his final Arista release. This one, yeah, I can understand why the critics didn't really care for it. It's not as good as the other ones. It's not terrible. It's Eric Carmen. It's never going to be terrible. But it did not live up to the standards of the earlier ones. That's all she wrote for Eric Carmen. Did any of you guys know that Richard Carpenter released a solo album following Karen Carpenter's death? This is it, Time, from 1988. 87, excuse me. Richard had a big hit with it on the AC chart with Something in Your Eyes, Dusty Springfield doing the vocals for him. It also introduced me to the music of Scott Grimes, who does That's What I Believe. Richard would later produce Scott's debut album, which was fantastic and which will be coming up eventually in the Male Artist. The song on the back, When Time Was All We Had, on side one, is typical Carpenter's overdub, and it is a tribute to his sister Karen. He doesn't do much singing on this album on his own. He has other artists do it. But Say Yeah, he does the vocals on. When Time Was All He Had, he does the vocals on. And it's an a cappella song. And Calling Your Name Again. I wish it had done better. It's an absolutely fantastic album. I picked this up a couple years ago. I think I got it. I don't remember if I got it from Adam at Record Crate or Dawn and Mary. Pete Carr, multiple flash. Pete Carr was half of LeBlanc and Carr. He was based out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and did some really good stuff. This is the solo album that he released before he teamed up with Lenny LeBlanc in 1978 and had a hit with Fallin', which was a top 20 hit. He's more of a rocker on this one than that one was. That was more of a yacht rock. This is more straightforward rock. And it's pretty good. I use a couple of tracks from this on Saturday Night Disco Party. This is Ralph Carter and Young and in Love. Both Young and in Love and Higher and Extra Extra are regulars on Saturday Night Disco Party. Ralph, of course, played Michael on Good Times in the 1970s. He was a terrific singer. I think he was 14 or 15 when this came out. and in 1976, and had really, really good vocals, top-notch R&B dance stuff all the way around. And again, he's that actor who sings thing. This is the third or the second. This is the second. I don't have the first or the third of the series of albums Johnny Cash did for American Recordings. I have a love-hate relationship with Johnny Cash. My stepfather absolutely adored him, and as a result, I got subjected to a lot of older Cash stuff from the late 50s through the mid 60s that I just couldn't stand at the time. Now I've grown to like Folsom Prison Blues and A Boy Named Sue and Orange Blossom Special and all those. But these albums, made in the twilight of Cash's career in the early 2000s, are incredible. I've heard all three of them. I've never bought them. I only listen to them on streaming. And of course his version of Hurt, which is from, I think, American 3, is incredible. This is excellent, and Cash is at his best here. Another artist I have quite a bit of. Let me pull up the rest of them here. We're just about the halfway point through this one. And you're going to laugh because it's Shaun Cassidy. I grew up with Shaun Cassidy. He was popular in the 70s when I was a teenager. I was a big fan of the Hardy Boys. And he's actually a competent singer and songwriter. People didn't give him enough credit because he was a teen idol. Born Late is the album which featured Hey Deanie. And it also has Do You Believe in Magic? Teen Dream, which was not a hit. I thought it would be, which he wrote. It's very much an Eric Carmen-esque song. Shaun was a big Eric Carmen fan, as obviously because he had hits with That's Rock and Roll and Hey Deanie. His version of Walk Away, which he also wrote, is excellent, but I actually prefer Lisa Hartman's cover of that from 1979. We'll talk about that when we get into the female artists. Terrific album all the way around. Shaun didn't do any bad albums except Wasp. We'll talk about that in a minute. Room Service didn't get much of attention. This came out in 1979, I believe. This was after his heyday. He was doing TV movies, and the Hardy Boys was about to get canceled. But this is actually possibly my favorite album by him. He does more up-tempo rock here than he did on his teeny bopper albums. And Break for the Street and Are You Afraid of Me and his cover of the Box Tops Hit the Letter, all fabulous songs. And it's great all the way around. A song called Only Because of Love was later readapted to have the lyric Is It Because of Love was used for a short-lived television show called Me and Max back then. This is the debut album from 1977. I picked this up. I had it and I lost it. I picked this up about 2 years ago from a Discog seller at a very good price. It is a promotional copy to do Ron Ron, and that's rock and roll from here. It's your typical pop album, and it's pretty good. The live album, Shaun Cassidy Live, That's Rock and Roll, I picked up for the first time at the same time I picked that one up. It's actually not bad for a live album. I'm not a big live album fan, except for 2 or 3 that I really love. This is not bad, and it has all of his big hits on it. This was done in 1980, I believe, or late 79. It includes stuff from the first 4 albums, and it is pretty good. There's this one from 1978, Under Wraps, another underrated album. This came out, Our Night was the first big single to miss the top 40. But the song, my favorite individual song by him is Midnight Sun. It's on this album. That was written by songwriter Peter McCann. But this is my second favorite album next to Room Service, so they'd be right close to each other. The older and further along he went, the better he got and the more enjoyable the albums were. except for 1980s Wasp. This is Sean back at his proto-punk era, which is what he started with back when he was 13 as the leader of a band called Longfellow. This was produced by Todd Rundgren. It's not terrible, but it's not really good. If you like Sean's other music, you're not going to like this very well. And inexplicably was reissued on Record Store Day 2022. Never figured out why. Because the other albums are better. And this, I mean, he does have, he's back on tour, singing and talking about his career. I wish we'd been able to go see him. He was in Beverly last September. I would have loved to have gone to see him. But he's if you like this kind of stuff, you might like it. I got this from Black Box. Ray Charles, his orchestra, and the Raylettes, live in Stockholm, 1972. This came from Black Box. And another one, I just noticed. I have not cracked this open yet. I'll let you know what it's like when I listen to it. I must have accidentally filed a whole bunch of these. I thought I did all of these. I'm sorry. I will listen to this and report back. Can't say the same thing about the Harry Chapin stuff I have. I don't know everything by Harry Chapin, but I love the man's songwriting. Living Room Suite. I bought this from Adam at Record Crate. This doesn't have any big hits on it, but there's some really great songs. Chapin was a master storyteller, and I think he was 43 when he was killed in a car accident in 1981, the summer of 1981, when he was on the verge of a comeback with Boardwalk Records. This has some really interesting stuff on it, and I'd never heard any of it before I purchased it. It's standard Harry Chapin, and I love the guy. There's also On the Road to Kingdom Come, which I believe was the final album he did for Elektra, if I'm not mistaken, before jumping to Boardwalk. Again, no huge hits off this album, but it was, again, had some terrific music on it. I think The Parade Still Passing By is one of the most poignant songs I've ever heard. This is fantastic. All right. Tubby Chess and his Candy Stripe Twisters, Do the Twist. This is a covers album, sound-alikes, basically. I think this came from Steve at Value Vinyl. I listened to it when it came. I don't remember it that well, so obviously it was not saying a lot to me. I gotta change the way I'm doing this. I'm running out of room over here. Okay, I'm back. I had to rearrange stuff so it wasn't falling over. Yep, this is another one that got caught up in that. I have not heard this. I haven't opened it. Still sealed. This came from Black Box. Tyler Childress, Purgatory. I assume it's pop and bluegrass, since Sturgill Simpson was the producer. I will report back on this when I get it heard. This album I always loved, and I wish it had gotten more attention. This is Chris Christian's only album on Boardwalk. It's his only secular album. He was mostly a contemporary Christian artist. This had his only top 40 pop hit, I Want You, I Need You, which features backing vocals by Cheryl Ladd. Just noticed there's a little divot on that. I mean, it was a cutout, so I never noticed that before. Also had a couple of other singles on it. Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing or All I Need to Get By was a single. Make It Last was a single. My favorite song off the album is Houston, which is an album track. Love this album. He was terrific, is terrific as a performer, and I wish this had been a bigger hit. This is Alan Clark, I Wasn't Born Yesterday. I picked this up in a sale from someone on the vinyl community. It was just doing random blind buys. This is interesting. Not the biggest fan of it, but it's not bad. This one came from Black Box, and I did like this. Otis Clay, Trying to Live My Life Without You. That song has actually popped up on Radio Retro by a different artist. Um, you know, definitely old school R&B soul, and I have a soft spot for that, especially from the late 60s and early 70s. Fantastic album. New School R&B from Darrell Coleman. This is out from 1986, 85. He was the grand champion on Star Search, its second season, I believe. Really good stuff. Did not have any hit off here, although Someone Took My Love was a single, and I think One False Move was a single. Great, smooth, mid-80s, Quiet Storm R&B. Fantastic stuff. Actors Who Sing. Jeff Conaway. This was from 1978. Came out during his run in Grease as Kaniki. Great stuff. City Boy was a top 20 hit on the Kirkham Report chart. Several other songs hit the Kirkham Report chart. It's a pretty good album. He was a good singer. People didn't give him good credit for most of it, and it was definitely worth having. Dean Kahn. I wanted this album for the longest time. There's a story behind this too. I ordered this as part of an order I made a couple years ago for Robert's lottery winner, and it never showed up. And I'm like, okay, what happened? So I ended up sending the winner that year some other stuff. And then, out of the blue, 18 months later, the package arrived. The one I'd ordered for him, plus two things I wanted, including Dean Kahn. I promptly contacted the seller and paid him again because he had refunded me. Dean Kahn never had a big hit, but he was featured several times on the Merv Griffin show with Cal Rudman. Merv used to do Rising Stars with Cal Rudman from Friday Morning Quarterback, and Dean was one of them, and this is a great album. I'm glad I finally got it. It's very much smooth pop, light country stuff from 1979, 1980. And, apparently I picked up a second copy of it somewhere. I did that a lot when I was ordering from Discogs a few years ago. This is the second album by actor Al Corley, Riot of Color. Corley had a bigger hit off of this album, his debut album, was Square Rooms. Square Rooms is a regular on Disco Party. He was an actor, played Stephen Carrington on Dynasty. These are both filled with great Europop, even though he's not from Europe. And they're both excellent albums. I actually like the first one slightly better than the second, but the second one is not bad either. The first one also has a great ballad called Over Me, which I wish had been out as a single. It was a terrific song. I listened to this once. Haven't listened to it again. I've listened to the title track numerous times because I have it on digital, and I make fun of it a lot. This is the album Desiderata by Les Crane, complete with the poster, as you can see. Otherwise known as You Are a Child of the Universe, Les Crane was a Los Angeles television personality who did the narration on these. And, for what it is, it's a pretty fun album. That's not saying a lot, but it's a pretty fun album. The first of the Kiss solo artists, Peter Criss. Don't You Let Me Down was the single off this. I like his song, I Can't Stop the Rain. The rest of the album is typical Criss, but less typical Kiss, as most of the solo albums were. I also have his 1980 post-Kiss album, Out of Control, which has a great version of You Better Run, which was a hit a year later for Pat Benatar. They're both rockers, and they're both very much worth listening to. This one came in from, I think this came from Steve at Value Vinyl. This was Jim Croce's major breakthrough. You don't mess around with Jim. He's another one of those singer-songwriters of the 70s that you just can't avoid, and you don't really need to, because every song he does is worth hearing. This has Don't Mess Around with Jim on it. Later song, Time in a Bottle, which was a later hit, and Operator. And a lot of other great stuff in between that's anything but filler, because he just wrote great music. And the last of the pile for this time. Into Christopher Cross now. This is Christopher Cross, Another Page, his second album from 1982. This album, All Right was a pretty big hit. Think of Laura was a monster, even though it's not that great of a song. This album was a major disappointment. I have to be honest. I do not like this album nearly as well as the other albums I have by him. You could feel the pressure he was under after the 5 or 6 Grammys he won for this album. We'll talk about in a second. And Arthur's Theme. It's good. There's good stuff on it, but it isn't nearly as good as the first or the third album, and the third album got completely shafted. Christopher Cross, Another Page. This is the debut album from Christopher Cross. I also have a reissue, which includes a lot. I think it's in the Oob Cube current. This is the debut album he won 5 Grammys for, including Record of the Year for Sailing, Album of the Year for the album, and it had 4 monster hits off of it: Say You'll Be Mine, Never Be the Same, Ride Like the Wind, and Sailing. I Really Don't Know Anymore was an album hit. Incredible debut album. Kim finds this album boring. She's not a fan, and I'm really sorry, because it's just one of the best albums of 1980. One of the best albums of 1984 is his third album, Every Turn of the World. And I don't know why these are all so creased up so bad. They've never been that way before. I must have done something at some point with this, but I noticed Another Page was like that. Every Turn of the World, his third album, one minor hit called Charm the Snake. This album is phenomenal. Every Turn of the World, the title track, and Love is Love in Any Language, both top-notch songs by Cross, and it deserved way better than it got. It didn't sell well. It missed gold status like the first two. If you've never heard it and you like Christopher Cross, pick it up. What Will the Neighbors Think? Rodney Crowell. This has his hit Ashes by Now on it. I picked it up from Adam a couple years ago. Listened to it once. It's a pleasant album. Don't really mean anything to me. Other than that, I like that a lot. But I'd say it's one of those albums you hear every now and then, and you might be in the mood to put it on. But right now, it's not something I listen to a lot. I belonged to a record rater service when I was in junior high called EARS, E-A-R-S. I don't remember what it stood for. And a couple of times they sent me albums that had come out and didn't do well and wanted my opinion on them. This was one of them. Gino Cuneo, or Cunico. He was a singer-songwriter, but he's better known for his songwriting. This album includes his version of Can't Smile Without You. It includes Daydreamer, which was a huge hit in the UK for David Cassidy. When I Wanted You, which was later recorded by Barry Manilow. And it's an all-around great album. It was on Arista Records. And I'm a little bit disappointed he didn't do better with this, because it was a terrific album. This is also a terrific album. Sonny Curtis, Love Is All Around. This came out in 1980 after he reissued and re-recorded this song as a full ballad. It had been issued originally in 1971 when it was the theme from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. This album takes it beyond that. This is a very pop country pop album. It's along the lines of a lot of the country albums that were hitting the pop charts in 1980 thanks to Urban Cowboy. Great version of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover and I Fought the Law, which he wrote way back in 1961 when he was still part of the Crickets. Great album. Underrated. I have 2 copies of this. I don't know why. I must have got one from Steve at Value Vinyl. This is Mac Davis. Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me. I got the original when I was 10. My first shipment from Columbia House. This has Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me. And what was the other big hit off this? There was one other big hit off here. I don't remember. Listen to this album endlessly as a kid. Loved it. Still love it. One of Mac's best all the way around. This I picked up in the cutout bin. One summer, I said this on another show, or on the website at least. One summer in the 1980s, I was living in Lancaster, Ohio. We had a small, we were living in the outskirts of the town in an apartment complex called Summerford Square. It was walking distance to a little shopping center where they had a gas station. Walked down the street further, there was a bowling alley, and 2 or 3 little shops attached to the cinema. They opened a Hex there, which is a Midwest discount chain, in the summer of '85, and they had cutouts for 10 cents each. Inside of a week, I think I spent close to $30, $40 on 10-cent albums. This is one of them, Paul Davis. Southern Tracks and Fantasies. This album has his hit Superstar on it. Paul Davis, one of my favorite artists of the 70s, although I don't have many albums by him. This is the only album I have by it. Reggae Kind of Way was also a hit off this. And then, of course, the next album featured I Go Crazy, which made him a major star. Great album all the way around. He was another artist we lost way too young. He was just 60 when he passed away of a heart attack just a couple of days after his birthday. He was working on a comeback album. That's a shame. El DeBarge. This is actually ended up in my albums. This is a 12-inch single. Sorry about that. Real Love. I'll have to reclassify that in my 12 inches. Put that aside. And now to conclude the John Denver collection. I have grown my John Denver collection a lot in the last 5 years. I have always been a John Denver fan, but I've gone back and got some of the stuff I didn't have already. And they're all fantastic. None of them are a disappointment, really. Back Home Again from 1974 is the original version of Grandma's Featherbed. Thank God I'm a Country Boy, both of the originals, as well as Annie's Song and Sweet Surrender, which were both big hits. Both of those first 2 songs would be bigger hits on the live album. But they are... this is just a great album. But there's a reason it hit #1, and it was a really... He's a terrific writer, and I've loved John most of my life. This is the live album, An Evening with John Denver. Stupendous stuff. Grandma's Featherbed, Thank God I'm a Country Boy, a top 10 hit off the live album. All of his good stuff. The one thing that surprised me about this album is this was 1975, and I understand that he was trying to do more of his hits, his big hits. He didn't include his version of Leaving on a Jet Plane live. And he wrote that. It was a big hit for Peter, Paul, and Mary. Paul McCartney? I don't think so. And I've heard him do it live. But, it should have been on this album. It's great. This has all of his great hits album there. If I'm not mistaken, this was his final album for RCA, One World, released in 1986. This album has Flying for Me on it. Flying for Me is a song everybody should hear if they haven't heard it. It is dedicated to the Challenger crew and Krista McAuliffe in particular. But it's a damn good album all the way around. He didn't have any hits off of it. I think, actually, I take that back. I do believe Along for the Ride was an AC hit, but it didn't have any major hits off of it. And it's a really good album. And it always is. John always did good albums. Poems, Prayers, and Promises. This is the really early album, the breakthrough album that included Take Me Home Country Roads. And also has My Sweet Lady and a few other things on it. Again, John Denver does not do bad albums. Some Days Are Diamonds. This was not a big hit. This was after his pop fortunes had started to fade, but he was still hitting the chart occasionally. Some Days Are Diamonds, I think, peaked at number 30 on the Hot 100, and it was a top 10 AC hit. But that's one of my favorite songs by him. The Cowboy and the Lady, also, his cover of this, Bobby Goldsboro actually had a hit with it in 1976. Really, really good stuff again. Spirit from 76. This is the one album I have where there's no really big hits on it. Like a Sad Song was a minor hit and a bigger hit on the country and AC chart. It's a very melancholy album for the most part, but again, it's not a bad album. It's a John Denver album, and John Denver doesn't do bad albums. Rocky Mountain High, which features the song of the same name, and that was the only single released from it, but the rest of the album is fantastic. I didn't actually hear this whole album until I bought it, and that was 22. Bought it from Adam at Record Crate, I believe. Or actually, it's got shrink wrap. I may have actually got this from Black Box. I hadn't had it at that point. It's fantastic, and I love that. And finally, and wrapping up this segment of the show, is the one album I had when it first came out, Wind Song from 1975. I think this was his best-selling album. I know it hit number 1. It produced I'm Sorry Calypso, Looking for Space, I'm Sorry, Fly Away were the 3 hits from it, and I'm Sorry Calypso were a double-sided hit, and the original version of Late Night Radio, which was later redone by his friends Starline Vocal Band. Awesome album all the way around, and it is one of the best of his career. I love it. That's going to do it for part 1. We are through the male vocalists up through John Denver. The next one will start, I'm not sure who starts D, but I think it ends with Colin Hay, and we will tackle that on the next show. Thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, and don't forget to support PNR, our TKR Studios through Patreon, through Ko-Fi, through our swag shop, or through our GoFundMe. And I hope you've enjoyed this look into my collection and some of the weird stuff here. There'll be more, plenty more to come. I'm TC Kirkham, TKR Video Central, and the Kirkham Report for TC's vinyl collection, or my vinyl vaults, or whatever the show's called. I will see you on the interwebs. Ciao, baby.